What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Gleese on Life. I'm Alex Gleese and today we're doing a little bit of fall mushroom foraging in the woods in North Carolina. We're hoping to find lion's mane or maitake or anything of that sort that are fall mushrooms. Some of them are super hard to find, at least accessibly. It can be difficult with lion's mane. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy tagging along and hopefully we find something tasty to eat and we can cook it up later. Alright, so I think that we found our first mushroom. So here we have two little beautiful lion's mane mushrooms. Hericium erinaceus, I believe is how you pronounce the scientific name. So we're going to go ahead and collect these. So these grow on decaying wood and we can just collect it by cutting it off of the wood. This one's going to need a good cleanup. And then there's a second one in here. These are both going to be really dirty. They're going to need a good cleanup. So you can see that these mushrooms have this tooth-like structure on them. So that's why they get their name lion's mane, because it almost looks like a lion's mane. They are white, and they kind of have this almost spongy-like texture to them. Sometimes you can find them and they're really saturated with water, and then you just give them a good squeeze when you get home and they should still be good. The main thing you want to avoid with these is when they get too yellow. So this one's starting to yellow a little bit. The issue is when they get too old and yellow, they start to get bitter. So they really don't taste as great. But even if they're too old, you can dehydrate them and use them for other purposes. So this is a pretty good find. So hopefully this is a good sign that we'll find more of these out here. You can really tell that it's fall once the acorns start dropping. And this is a really great sign for us too, because we're actually looking for oak trees. And the reason we're looking for oak trees is because Grifola frondosa, maitake, or hen of the woods, they all grow at the base of really, I guess maybe not old oak trees, but commonly old oak trees and also decaying oak trees. I know that anybody who's watching living out on the west coast, unfortunately you guys don't get maitake, so hopefully we can find one and you guys can live vicariously through me. Here we've got another mushroom. This big old mushroom is really old, but it is a Berkeley's Polypore. The scientific name on this one is pretty hard to pronounce, so I'm not going to attempt that. I'll pop it on screen right here for you guys. So this is a pretty cool mushroom. It's actually edible. It gets mistaken a lot for chicken of the woods, especially with beginners. Especially at this stage, you can see that it's starting to yellow a bit. It doesn't look like this yellow when it's young. So if you're new to foraging, just make sure that you double check before you start grabbing something and consuming it, because sometimes things do look a little bit alike. But you can see that this, in fact, has a pore surface. This one's a bit spored out. That's what they do when they get old and mushrooms start to try and reproduce. So this one's a little bit too old for consumption, but still a pretty cool find nonetheless. Now I'm coming up on a spot that has had lion's mane in the past. So given that the other spot had some, hopefully this log will have some too. Fortunately, I'm not seeing any, but I might have to come back in a few days to check just to make sure that I don't miss them. That's unfortunate, but oh well, that's how it goes with mushroom foraging, so on to the next one. Now when I'm looking for lion's mane, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for. You can see this old decayed tree, and you want to check in all these little holes and crevices along the tree because they can be growing in there on that underside, just like you saw with that other one that I found. So I'd be checking up under all these spots along this log. And I know this one has had them in the past, but it doesn't have them right now. Now with the lion's mane, which is in the Hericium genus, there are a couple of other mushrooms, namely the bear's tooth head and the, oh man, I forget the common name of the other one. It's the coral Hericium, and all of the Hericium mushrooms are edible. So they're very, very easy to identify, which makes it a super great mushroom for beginners. So if you're new to foraging, get out and look for it, because it's almost impossible to mistake it for anything else, just because of the way it grows on the tree and it has that shaggy look to it. It's really a very easy mushroom to forage, except that it is hard to get to sometimes. Sometimes you'll have to look up in the trees, and sometimes you're going to be really disappointed that you won't be able to reach that beautiful mushroom that you found. Now, the reason that you look for lion's mane on dying trees or decaying wood is because they're saprotrophic. I believe how that's pronounced. I'll leave that on screen for you guys as well. But basically what that means is that they feed off of decaying matter. So they have to be growing off of some sort of decaying organic matter. And in the case of the lion's mane mushroom, that would be wood from a dying tree. So you're never really gonna find lion's mane growing off the ground unless it's like a really weird situation. So that's another little confidence boost if you want to go out and try and find it for yourself. Oh, here are some really, really young ones. Here and right here. I am going to have to leave these and come back for them because this is not big enough to harvest. You can see the teeth on these are not really grown out yet, which is, I mean, if this was bigger, I would grab it, but that means it still has a lot of growing to do. I think this may also be one that's coming up, and that right there might be one. So this is a really nice log. And I almost didn't even see this one. This is why I'm telling you guys, you gotta check under the ledges on the dead logs, because they'll be hiding out just like this. So unfortunately, we didn't find any maitake today. I think they're just not ready to come up yet. But we did get those 2 lion's manes. It's not quite enough to make a meal out of, so I think what we're gonna do is come back in a few days to get those other ones, and then we'll have enough to actually cook something fun with it. Alright, we're back to check on the lion's manes today, and boy was it worth it to wait and come back and check. Look at how big they have gotten. This one is like the size of my hand almost, and these 2 as well. And then look at all these little baby ones, and then check out over here too. That one we couldn't see the other day, look how big it's gotten. And there's more here, another one here, and then look at this. There's like 7 more little ones that have come up in the time that we've been gone. So we're gonna grab the biggest of the bunch here, and then we're gonna leave the rest of them, come back another day for those. But I think we definitely have enough to cook something up now. Don't you think? So yeah, let's grab those big ones and then we're gonna head home. Cut them as close to the tree as you can without actually pulling any of the wood off, because that's just gonna make it harder to clean them.
Perfect.
That is literally perfect.
This guy's gonna be a little harder to get. Oh wow. There's a lot of that on this one. This one's huge. Should I get some of it off now?
Yeah, clean up what you can now.
Like
a lot of that will come off with a brush.
there's stuff growing under here too. You see all that?
Yep, there's lots of them.
Oh, lots of leaves.
Yeah, so I would just cut off that part that's like, maybe you don't have to cut it.
I don't know, I think it can be kind of salvaged. Call that good for now. Crab cakes for dinner tonight.
I had a viewer comment that they didn't know that they made foraging tools. So for those of you that don't know, that haven't seen it in my other videos, this knife is really great because it has this sickle blade, which makes it really easy to cut mushrooms with using your thumb. And then the bottom here has a brush, which is really great for cleaning your mushrooms out in the field, which makes your life much easier when you get home. And you know, once you start putting dirty mushrooms in with clean mushrooms, then your clean mushrooms get dirty again. And some mushrooms, like boletes that have pores and mushrooms that have gills, you don't want dirt all up in those, so it's better to just get it off and leave it in the wood. So let's go ahead and grab the last one here. This one's probably going to be pretty dirty because it's underneath of this piece of bark. So I'm just going to remove that. Try to be pretty gentle with it, but this one's probably going to come with a lot of dirt. There we go. Yeah, see, this one's pretty dirty. We're going to need to do a bit of cleaning on this one at home, but I'll take the biggest pieces out here in the woods. Check that out. It's a beautiful lion's mane. I'm surprised. It must have gotten rain or something, maybe, because they feel pretty moist.
They're pretty wet. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's like a cauliflower.
No, it's not cauliflower mushroom.
No, it just looks like a vegetable cauliflower.
Yeah, at this stage it does.
That's what
before
I was
it
saying.
actually has like the hairs. This is how you want them though.
Why?
Just because this is when they're going to be the most tender and have the best flavor, the best texture. Once they get a little bit older, like the ones we found a few days ago, those can start to get a little bit bitter, like once they start to go yellow. It's okay if they start to dry out a little bit because you can rehydrate them. That's not the biggest issue. But once they start to go yellow, they get a little bit tough and bitter. Not that great. But you can use them for other stuff too. Dehydrate them, use them as a powder, whatever you want. So they could still be salvageable. But if you're gonna cook with them, just fresh, you want them to look like this. All right, guys, we are back in the kitchen. It's been a few days. Things got a little crazy around here, so we haven't had time to mess with these yet. But fortunately, they keep really well in the fridge. If you just throw them in a bag with some paper towels, they can keep for quite a while. So I already trimmed a lot of it off, but we're gonna need to wash these as well, which is not something that I typically recommend with mushrooms. To each their own, but typically I don't wash mine, but these are so dirty that we're gonna need to. But I wanna go ahead and break this open for you guys to show you what it actually looks on the inside. So if you come over here, I can give you guys a closer look. So you can see it's still a little bit dirty, but if I break it open, you guys are gonna get to see the texture of this mushroom. So you guys can see that it's very sponge-like almost. Some people would say it's even seafood-like or crab-like. And that's actually what we're going to be doing today, is making a... We're going to be washing them, so that's okay. But what we're going to be making is a Chinese-style crab dish, but we're going to be replacing the crab with the lion's mane. And what this dish is, it's a ginger scallion stir-fry dish, and yeah, we're just going to use the mushrooms instead of crabs. So let's first clean up the mushrooms and then we can start cooking. So you can see that it's still pretty dirty, even though I cleaned it off with a brush and trimmed off like a large portion of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the water on, and I'm just going to kind of scrub at it. And you can see some of this stuff is not coming off, so I'm going to have to cut at it again. But at least get the worst of it off. And with lion's mane, it's pretty okay, just because you can actually squeeze them out. So now that it's all wet, lion's mane is like kind of like a sponge, so we can just squeeze all that out. So with these it's okay. With other mushrooms, I would say skip the water. But yeah, so I'm just gonna clean up the rest of them and then get to the next step.
We eating dirt tonight.
Alright, so now that I've got everything cleaned up and trimmed up, I'm going to start to shred these apart into more crab-like pieces. So you can really start to see why some people think this really is a good imitation crab. And I prefer to shred the mushrooms over chopping them, because I think it just gives them more of like an organic kind of feel when you're eating them, which is nice. I think that chopping them gives them kind of like a unnatural feel and texture. I'm gonna prepare some of the other things now just to get them ready. So we're gonna take some scallions. Gonna cut the ends off on them, throw those away. Compost if you have a composter. We don't.
We do actually. It's called the human body.
We're just gonna cut them into relatively large pieces and separate the white portion. So just cut these in half, because that's gonna help to make them cook down a little bit nicer. Alright, so those are separated. Then we're gonna take some garlic. I have 4 cloves here, and we're just gonna cut it into some slices. And then ginger, I'm gonna remove the end there because that's mostly skin, and we're gonna cut these thin slices as well. We're gonna do about, say, 5 or so of these. And now I'm gonna take and trim the sides on these. And then I think that I'll also cut them in half. Yeah, just like that. So what we're going to do to kind of get rid of some of that water is we're going to dry saute these first. So pan's not quite hot enough yet. It's getting there. But all this is going to do is draw out some of this water for us, just to make them a little less moist. Like if you come a little closer, you can see that these are still super saturated with water, and we just want to draw like a little bit of that out during this process. Now that we've dry sauteed a lot of the moisture out of it, I want to leave a little bit of moisture, but most of it's out. So I'm going to take it off the pan now, and then I'm going to put a little bit of cornstarch on it. Just coat them in cornstarch. Basically, that's just going to help to give them like a little bit of a crispy coating once we get to actually putting them in the oil. So, pretty good amount of oil is what we're going to put in there.
Wait, is that actually a good amount of oil? That's like what I usually put in when I cook something. I'm like actually not joking.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
That's a pretty healthy amount of oil.
Well, healthy. There you go.
Unhealthy.
Oh.
Our oil is nice and hot. We're going to start throwing some of these aromatics in. We're going to throw in the ginger and the garlic and the chilies. We'll give those a second, and then we'll throw in the scallions. This really should be done in a wok, but I don't have a wok, so we're going to make it work. Then back in with our mushrooms. Alright, now that our mushrooms have cooked a bit, we're going to add the stuff that's kind of going to build a sauce around it. So we're going to add a little bit of soy sauce, probably 2 or 3 tablespoons. Then we're going to add a little bit of oyster sauce, probably a tablespoon or 2. Some white pepper, maybe a teaspoon. And then some sugar, which I forgot to take out. So we're gonna add a tablespoon and a half of sugar.
I think that's 2 tablespoons.
I don't think so.
Thanks for dinner.
All right. Well, let's give it a taste.
What?
See what we think.
Thanks for dinner.
So.
What the? Why are you ignoring me?
Thanks for dinner. You haven't tried it yet. Wait. Don't say thanks till you try it. I can't even speak
What
right.
is happening right now?
We've had it before.
Cheers.
But
not like this.
Not like this. It's good.
Tastes like lion's mane.
Yeah.
Tastes like crab.
People say crab. I think it has more of like a scallop-like texture than crab. But it's good.
You gave me a whole pepper?
You don't have to eat the pepper. You can eat around it.
Should I eat this? I've been devouring this whole thing.
Yeah, eat it.
Is it spicy?
Yeah, it's spicy.
Okay. I have seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. You did me dirty.
I told you not to eat it.
You just said eat it. You just said, yeah, eat it. What?
I said, don't eat it. And then you're like, should I eat it? Should I eat it?
No, you said, yeah, eat it. Yeesh.
Well, we'll let Katie sit and suffer as we wrap up our meal here. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed coming along with me and watching us cook this up. If you guys really like this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and also check out my other videos. I'll leave those linked somewhere up here as well as down in the description. We've got quite a few mushroom foraging videos, so if that's what you're into, then go check those out. I would really appreciate that.
If it's not what you're into, we also have other videos, so check those out too.
That's true. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Oh, hot. Oh.
Peace.
It's gonna be spicy.
Not gonna be that spicy.
This garlic smells so good.
What?
I saw that! Wow.